hail the Queen. I'm Michael B. the Game Genie, and today on Game Genie Reviews, we're going to be taking a look at the Arcade1up Miss Pac-Man. That's right, guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Arcade1up Miss Pac-Man. Well, one of them. As for some reason, they actually made a couple different versions with a slightly different collection of games. And one even had a weird but wonderful light-up front panel. Which version did I get? What do I think of it? Let's find out. As soon as I saw the Arcade1up Miss Pac-Man announcement during the IGN Summer Gaming event, I knew I was going to end up buying this cabinet. Of course, because Miss Pac-Man is a great game and I love playing it, but more than anything else, this cabinet itself is beautiful and beyond iconic, and it looked like Arcade1up had nailed the design. Now that I have the cabinet put together and in my arcade, I'm extremely pleased with the job they did recreating the look and feel of the original cabinet. First, let's talk about the form factor, and as soon as Arcade1up did the new shape for the 40th anniversary Pac-Man, I thought it's a shame they didn't have the license to Miss Pac-Man so we could see the original cabinet art displayed correctly on the side panels of one of their 3/4 scale arcades. Lo and behold, here we are just a few months later, and Arcade1up have released Miss Pac-Man, which correctly displays the shape and artwork in the appropriate dimensions. I mean, this just looks like it should. More than anything else, I want to talk about the art. The words on the cabinet, the color scheme, everything is just so iconic, and I'm elated to see this piece of art in my arcade. Unfortunately, I did have one issue where the side panel art was damaged up front, right in the crevice by the front of my control panel. I've been extremely fortunate where I haven't had a damaged side panel since I got my Final Fight cabinet, and had hoped these issues have been straightened out, but here we are. Luckily, it's not super noticeable, and I will try my best not to fixate on it. On a more positive note, I absolutely love the hot pink trim they went with for the T-molding, and just think it pops against the blue and the black. The included riser is perhaps one of Arcade1up's best to date, and really does such a great job accentuating the art from the cabinet itself, as well as tying in elements of the original arcade through the riser. You can see this on the front image, and side of the riser is actually what you would see on the bottom of the Miss Pac-Man full-size cabinet, and I think that is such a great touch. The marquee is pretty amazing, accurately recreating the original marquee minus specific branding. The light distribution is fantastic with no hot spots, and everything looks just so good. I mean, it's the Queen, everything had to be just right. Much like the marquee issues with the Pac-Man 40th cab, the same issues present themselves here, where it is placed further back in the cabinet than a regular marquee, and when the cabinet is viewed from certain angles, parts of the marquee are not visible. The stereo speakers can be found in the panel under the marquee. This has become pretty standard now from Arcade1up, and I don't think that we need to say much more about that. The bezel around the screen is fantastic and does such an amazing job of recreating the bezel from the original cabinet, right down to including the original instructions. This is the attention to detail that Arcade1up is known for in recreating the authentic arcade experience with the design. The control panel, of course, looks like the original and is beautiful, however some things have changed to make the cabinet functional for every game you can play on it. Of course, the Player 1 and Player 2 buttons have been moved over to the left side of the control panel, and a yellow button has been added to the right side. This button has been included as some of the games on the cabinet require its use to either jump or pump. The sticks and buttons are the same they have been using for the last couple of waves, and are pretty good. Not arcade quality, but they are alright. Last but not least is what makes this cabinet different than every Arcade1up before it, as this one has the lit front panel. In the United States, this is the Home Shopping Network version, but here in Canada, this was the only version available to us regardless of retailer. I wasn't too keen on this edition, as I prefer my cabs to look as close to real as possible, so no light up deck protectors, no light up buttons, or basketball joysticks for me. I had also seen some images online where this made the panel look all blue, and I just didn't think that it looked that good. But let me tell you, when I got my cab together, finally got it working, more on that later, and turned off the lights, man, this light up section looks great, and I can certainly see why people would be interested in this. I haven't been totally converted to an add-on light guy yet, but yeah, I kinda dig this, and I'm glad it's included. So yeah, the cabinet looks fantastic. I mean, it's Miss Pac-Man, so it has so much going for it with its color scheme, classic artwork. But Arcade1up did such a fantastic job here with the presentation. The problem is, presentation is only half the equation, and will this package fall apart when we start talking about its performance? So I mentioned earlier that I had some issues getting this cab working. For the first time ever, when I had the cab completely built and plugged in, I went to switch on the power and everything stayed dark. I decided to start messing around with it piece by piece and plugged just the monitor in first, and it finally came on. I repeated the process with the lit J panel and they both came on, and last but not least I included the marquee and everything went dark. It appears the marquee was shorting out the whole cab. I was just about to give up when I tried one more time, and finally the marquee came on and everything worked. I guess whatever was happening just corrected itself, and now I have a working cabinet. Well, ish. There does seem to still be some kind of ghost in the machine, because when I start this cab up, it takes forever for the actual screen to come on, and when it does, the actual Arcade1up loading screen we all know and love sputters like it's struggling to work. I don't know what exactly is going on, but it always terrifies me to see it start up like this. Well, with that out of the way, let's talk about the screen, and this of course is the BOE monitor that Arcade1up has been using since Wave 3. It's a great monitor, and the startup screen and UI looks fantastic on it and really displays how crisp and clear the screen is. You wouldn't know they were using such a nice screen though as we head into gameplay, and of course they once again used a filter on the screen for whatever reason that blurs the image slightly. They did the exact same thing with the Pac-Man 40th cabinet, and they received so much negative feedback that it puzzles me why they did it again with this cabinet. I said it didn't look that bad on the Pac-Man 40th, but honestly it bothers me on this one, and screen filtering should always be an option and not a default. A patch is apparently on the way to fix this, so thank you Arcade1up for doing that, and please do one for the Pac-Man 40th cab as well. So now let's cover the included games, and for the first time ever, depending on where you picked up your Miss Pac-Man cabinet, you may have a different assortment of games than I do. Yeah, for whatever reason they decided to do different SKUs with different retailers that included slightly different games. So for those of you going for a complete Arcade1up collection, enjoy your 4 Miss Pac-Man cabs. I don't know why they did this, but from day one I said that hopefully the SKU that included Dig Dug came here, and thankfully one of them did. My specific version of Miss Pac-Man came with the title game Miss Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Super Pac-Man, and Pac-Mania. Sadly, this means that I have duplication of 2 of these games where the Pac-Man 40th cab already had Super and Mania. I would have preferred the SKU that had Galaxian and Dig Dug included with Miss Pac-Man, but at least I got Dig Dug and that weird but wonderful front panel. I do want to take a minute and say just how much I like the included UI here. It seems that every release now is getting its own unique UI that plays off the theme, which I think is such a nice touch. Miss Pac-Man is the marquee game on the cabinet, and I am happy to report it plays pretty well. I say pretty well, of course, because we do have the screen issue, but other than that, I am absolutely having a blast zigzagging around these mazes and avoiding ghosts while trying to gobble cherries. I have to admit, I think Miss Pac-Man may be a better game than OG Pac-Man. I don't know, what gets your vote? I will say, I'm having a slight issue where every now and then, my joystick doesn't respond when I want it to. It almost feels that it doesn't register. I compared it to the experience on my numbskull, and certainly something feels off from that experience, but I may just need to adjust to the specific controls on the Arcade1up. Super Pac-Man, like I mentioned, I already have on my Pac-Man 40th cab, so I won't go into too much detail on the game. However, if you do not have the Pac-Man 40th Anniversary cab, Super Pac-Man is an awesome Pac-Man game and certainly a great add-on to this cabinet. You get pellets to be big, collect keys to unlock passages, and of course, 8 ghosts. It's fun and really challenging. Pac-Mania is also on the Pac-Man 40th cab and is again a repeat for me. It's a new take on the classic Pac-Man game where you play in an isometric view that gives Pac-Man a 3D feel. Personally, I haven't really fallen in love with Pac-Mania, but that may just be because I have so many other options in my arcade. As one of the 4 games on this cab, it isn't too bad an inclusion. Last but not least is a game I was almost as excited to have on this cab as Miss Pac-Man itself, Dig Dug. Mainly because Dig Dug was only offered before as a countercade, and we weren't sure if we would ever see it in a 3/4 scale cabinet, but thankfully, here we are. Dig Dug is just such a fun game that sees you dig through the dirt to different openings and try to pump up the enemies on screen until they explode. Or you can just try and avoid them until they leave the screen, but you won't get the points. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing in this game. I just know I'm having fun, and isn't that what's most important? For me, I get to add 2 awesome games to my arcade while duplicating 2 I have on another cabinet, which is a little disappointing. However, for those of you out there without the Pac-Man 40th cab or Super Pac-Man cab, you get to add 3 awesome games and 1 pretty fun game with this cab, which isn't too shabby. So guys, that's my take on the Arcade1up Miss Pac-Man cabinet. The cabinet itself looks amazing, and Arcade1up did such a fantastic job recreating the look of the original cabinet in the 3/4 scale. My only wish is that the performance was as top-notch as the look of the cabinet, as once again there's an included unnecessary screen filter, and whatever is going on with the ghost in the machine really has me nervous. Despite those issues, you get some great games that perform well in a really nice looking cabinet, and it has that cute light in the front too. Don't forget that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review, and I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. How many of you guys are going to go out and pick up the Arcade1up Miss Pac-Man cabinet? How many of you guys already have an Arcade1up Miss Pac-Man? And if so, which version do you have, and what do you think of it? Anyways guys, I just want to say thank you so very much for watching. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll talk to you next time.